I'm Vernon Felton. I'm a senior editor at Bike Magazine, and we're in the Kingdom Trails. That's in East Brook, Vermont. We're at Bike's 2016 Bible Bike Test, and today we're checking out Felt's Edict 5. There are 4 models in the Edict 5 line. This model sells for about $3,000, and that's pretty impressive. It's a full carbon frame, largely Shimano Dior drivetrain, Suntour radon fork. It goes all the way up, though, if you want to spend more money, if you're that kind of person. It goes up to $10,000 for the Felt Edicts. So, what'd you guys think?
Well, there's no aluminum version of this bike, right?
That's correct. This is the base level model.
This is the least expensive option they can get to the consumer.
Yep.
And it's a pretty entry-level component kit. You know, on an aluminum bike, this is what you'd expect to see for probably $1,700.
$1,700,
Yeah. Personally, I felt like the components kind of did a disservice to the frame. And on aluminum, I think personally, I would have gone for an aluminum bike with higher end components.
Well, I think for the person that is buying a carbon bike for $3,000, they're not. A lot of times they don't walk in with a $3,000 budget. You know, they're like, yeah, I'm gonna get a $2,500 bike. Oh, but for $3,000 you get full carbon. Like that, there's that appeal, and the downgrade in the components for somebody who is that budget minded. A lot of times they're going to keep their bike for 5 or 6 years. And there's the long view is that they're going to upgrade these things that we all noticed were affecting the quality of the bike. So I'm all about putting the money into the frame and then kind of upgrading the rest of it as.
That's it.
Yeah.
Is it? Am I jumping on you?
No, is it a frame worth upgrade?
Ah, you bastard! Beat me to it.
Okay, so this was it was a noticeably long feeling bicycle.
It did feel big.
Yeah.
Felt huge.
And we're talking. This is a bike. It's a 29-inch wheel cross-country bike at 100 millimeters travel.
100 in the back, 120 in the front.
120 in the front with a 71.5 degree head angle.
You're keeping that 124. You're not dropping it to one.
Right.
No.
That said, it was long. I will probably rant about this at a later point. I don't think the rear suspension really worked very well in that regard, and we can talk about the design of that in a minute. That's just I'll just be that guy right now, and it sort of matched the performance of the fork. And with that head angle, and you would think this bike's not really going to handle that great. It's long and steep, but I kind of liked the way it handled. I thought that it turned in nicely. I thought it behaved well. I thought it was stable. It was planted. It's a long wheelbase bike, so it's pretty hard to knock it offline anyway.
It's stable.
I didn't have a complaint with the way it handled, but I did not like the suspension.
Well, hold on. You didn't have a problem with the way it felt big. You didn't have a problem with the way it handled in super tight conditions. Because I felt it was a lot of bike to move around in those tight turns.
I thought it handled okay.
I thought it was a handful, personally.
Okay, so you're saying that even with a 71.5 degree head angle, bike felt kind of slow handling.
Yeah, in the tight corners, absolutely.
Even with the 28.8 pound claimed weight, which for a cross-country bike is heavy, especially for a carbon fiber cross-country bike, regardless of component spec. That is a heavy bike.
You can lose 2 pounds by going up to the $1,000 more to the next level, but yeah, I think a lot of people expecting full carbon fiber, they're expecting it to be really light, and it's not.
It's not, no. And it doesn't feel like a light bike to ride. I didn't think it was that slow handling because of that, but I did notice, like when you pointed it uphill, there were regrets, mostly weight-based. Yeah.
So other than the weight, what are you losing in the lower spec? I mean, what do you feel like? Like, so we're talking about the fork. It's a Suntour fork.
The fork was rough.
It didn't feel like 120. I mean, I think you were surprised to even find out it had that much travel.
Yes, and there was I couldn't get rid of a certain rattle that felt sort of like a stanchion, bushing, clattery thing. Loose headset feel. It wasn't a loose headset.
I thought also, as we said, you can get going pretty quick on distance on this bike, so the long wheelbase. I didn't think the brakes had the power to back it up.
And brakes were the Shimano.
It's a lower end 300 series Shimano brake.
Yeah.
I had the same issues. I had the same issues with the fork. I mean, it just that It didn't have for the advantages that 120 mil fork should give you on a cross-country bike, the versatility advantages and the comfort advantages, it seemed to blow through its travel pretty quickly.
Yep.
And that it added a lot to the weight. It had a standard axle. It's the first standard front axle we've had in the Bible for years.
Small stanchions and a standard axle.
Yeah.
And it's noticeable.
Yeah.
And it's a bummer because the front wheel 9mm only, so if you do want to upgrade the fork, you're buying a new front wheel, and it's not going to match the rear wheel.
Yep.
So you open kind of a can of worms of worms.
And I think it deals the integrity of the frame a little bit of a disservice, because while it's not a very light frame, it's a pretty stiff chassis. The frame itself, I think, is pretty solid front to rear.
Yeah, this is a case where I think we were attracted by the fact that at $3,000, that's an outstanding price for a full carbon bike. I mean, again, you can pay nearly $3,000 for a full carbon frame.
Right.
But this is definitely a case where you lose 2 pounds, you get a full XT1 by drivetrain, you get a much better fork. Spending up for the Felt Edict 3 would probably be, in my personal
That would be a wise
recommendation,
choice.
the way to go for people. Because I think that takes out a lot of the complaints that we have regarding the performance of the bike.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. If you want to know more about this bike, check out the full review in Bike's Bible Bike Test issue. And if you want to see more bike test videos, go to bikemag.com.